what is the problem and unable to schedule it. And today also, since 15 minutes I tried, it's showing some error. So thought of using a same link what we have used for the previous class. And now a little disturbance will be there. Many students will come late and we have to admit them. And okay, let me take a few minutes. And so one program, in the last class we have discussed some of the points. And for example, a subplot 1, 1, 1, 1 we have discussed. So here we have simulated. One is a cos of x and another is a x squared by 2 we have plotted with in the figure, and this is the way how we can plot. So just to go through this, take a few minutes, 1 minute. Fig ax equal to fig dot add subplot I am using, and this I think if you want you can have a 2 cross 2 like that, but in most of the time we use only 1, 1, 1. And in the MATLAB also you might use such things. Later we will see more than one how to do it. For example, I want 4 plots in the same figure. How to do those things we'll see it later. And I have taken from minus 2 to 2, totally 1000 I have taken. You can change it and you can plot it whenever you get a time. Just go through, copy down 3-4 lines from this particular slide. Now we will go to the next slide. Okay, some students are joining now. Okay, by default, matplotlib plots all of the data passed to the plot and sets the axis limits accordingly. Based on your inputs, whatever the data you have passed, based on that it will limit it. But I want to limit manually. It is possible. We can make use of ax dot set x limit or ax dot set y limit. We'll see a one small example later. Now you just copy down these two words, ax dot set x limit, and one more is ax dot set y limit. How to do it, we'll see it in the next slide. And also line style, you have a different. Most of the time by default it will give the solid. If you want a dashed, you can make use of dashed also. Dotted if you want, you have to make use of like this. We'll see one or two later. Just copy down ax dot set x limit, ax dot set y limit. And these are the styles you have to copy down. For solid, we use this like a hyphen, and dash, this is for dotted. This is a mix, a dash and a dot. I take a few seconds and try to complete this slide. Note down 2-3 words from this slide. Now, hope all of you have copied 2-3 points. These are sample examples, x limit, y limit. So before I proceed, few of your classmates, they have come forward, which they have undergone some certified courses. They want to share what they have learnt in that course, in the Python course. So I want them to share that information with their classmates. Now I will stop sharing.
Sir, is the screen is visible, sir?
Yes, continue.
Yes, sir. Sindhu will start presenting.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Today we are giving seminar on exploring Python under the guidance of Professor S.V. Viraktakumar sir, presented by Arfali P. Nayakar, Sindhu Konduru, Mahimaji Patil. Next. Topics we cover today: Introduction to Python, Object-Oriented Programming in Python, SQLite, Regular Expressions. Next. Now let's move on to Introduction to Python. First, let's talk about what is Python. It is high-level programming language. It's often used as scripting language. Python is also called as interpreted language. This image shows the history of Python. It is invented in the Netherlands by Guido van Rossum. He is a fan of Monty Python's Flying Circus and it is famous TV show in Netherlands. Next. Let's move on to Introduction to Python. Scope of Python language. So here comes a question. What can I do with Python? We use Python because it is a free and open source language and it is easy to learn and also to use. Python supports multi-program paradigms, means like a pattern of something. It has built-in libraries and utilities. In artificial intelligence and machine learning, they will prefer Python. Top companies using Python. Nowadays, Python used by Google, Intel, IBM, Instagram and a number of other major companies. Google makes extensive use of Python in its web search system. Next. Now let's move on to the next topic called operators in Python. Python arithmetic operations. There are some subtopics. They are addition, subtraction, multiplication, floor division, exponential division and modules. And they are having some relational operators in Python. They are greater than, less than or equal to, not equal to, greater than or equal to and less than. Next. There are some assignment operators in Python. They are floor divide and assign, exponential and assign, modules and assign, divide and assign, multiply and assign, subtract and assign, add and assign and assign. There are some bitwise operators in Python. They are bitwise AND, bitwise OR, bitwise XOR, bitwise ones complement, bitwise left shift, bitwise right shift. Next. There are some fundamentals of Python. They are data types, flow control, functions, file handling, object and class. These are the building blocks of Python. Fundamentals: data types, flow control, functions, file handling, object and class. First, let's discuss about data types. In data types, we are having numbers, strings, lists and dictionaries, followed by flow control. We are having if else, for, while and continue. Followed by in functions we are having definition, function call, docstrings and return. In file handling we are having reading, writing and editing. In object and class we are having variables and functions. Next. Let's move on to data types in Python. They are boolean, numbers, strings, bytes and byte array, lists, tuples, sets and dictionaries. Here is some examples for each particular data type. Please look it on to this slide for a few seconds. Next. Let's move on to indentation and blocks. This comment line shows that it is a comment. Def table, it is a function. This piece of code is called a block. This statement indicates it is an expression. Spacing between the program is called indentation. This last line shows that it is a statement. Next. Now let's move on to conditional branching. In conditional execution, a block of one or more statements can execute if the given expression is true and it will end the loop. If condition is false, it will directly execute the following statements. This is the block diagram representation of conditional branching. In condition, when the condition is satisfied, it will go to if block and it will end the loop. In condition, if the condition is false and it will not satisfy, it will go to else block and it will end the loop. Next, looping in Python. There are for loop, while loop and repeat loop. Let's move on to the for loop. In for loop, in initialization, if the condition is true, it will go to code block. Then the condition gets satisfied, then it will end the loop. When the condition is not satisfied, it will execute until a certain expression remains true and it will end the program. Now let's come into while loop. In logical condition, if condition is true, it will go to code block and it will go back to logical condition. If the condition is false and it is not satisfied, it will directly end the loop. Coming to repeat loop. In this repeat loop, it will be keep on repeating from code block to logical condition and logical condition to code block until the conditions get satisfied. Once the condition satisfied, it will end the loop. The main difference between for loop and while loop. In while loop required to be indexing and variable, whereas in for loop use sequence or list. Next. Now let's move on to modules in Python. A Python module is a Python file containing a set of functions and variables to be used in an application. The variables can be of any type: arrays, dictionaries, objects, etc. Modules can be either built-in and user-defined. Next. Let's move on to file handling in Python. To perform file handling, we need to perform these following steps: open file, read file or write file. Next. Closing a file. Show previous slide. Now let's discuss about an open file. Files are manipulated by creating a file object, and here is an example to understand clearly about open file. To read a file, the file object that has new methods, and here is an example to read a file. That means it will print line from line in a read file. Files can be accessed to read or write a file. Here we have a piece of code to write a file. These files are iterable objects like this. Next. For closing a file, we are having a piece of code here. This is a pictorial representation of file handling in Python. Next. And we are starting with object-oriented programming in Python. Pictorial representation of object-oriented programming in Python. There are some subclasses. They are object, class, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. Next. Features of object-oriented programming. Ability to simulate real-world event much more effectively. Code is reusable, thus less code may have to be written. Data becomes active, better able to create GUI, that is graphical user interface applications. Programmers are able to produce faster, more accurate and better written applications. Here this picture represents the features of object-oriented programming. Here is we are having woman. Class is woman and properties are email and address. Objects are name. Methods are verified to send a mail. Next. Now let's move on to what are classes and objects. Let's discuss about classes. A class is a collection of objects, or you can say it is a blueprint of objects defining the common attributes and behavior. Class is defined under a class keyword. Now let's move on to objects. Objects are an instance of a class. It is an entity that has state and behavior. It is a nutshell. It is an instance of a class that can access the data. Here we are having a picture represents the classes and objects. Let's take an example of a car. This is a parent class. In parent class, we are having some categories. They are race car, SUV and compact. These are called child classes. Different costs is having different companies. For example, Lotus and McLaren is a company name of race car, followed by Jeep and Rover are the company of SUV, and followed by Mini Cooper and Fiat is a company names of compact. These company car names is called car objects. Next. Now let's move on to the topic name called inheritance. Inheritance refer to defining a new class with little or no modification to an existing class. The new class is called derived or child class, and the one from which it inherits is called the base or parent class. Derived class inherits features from the base class, adding new features to it. This results into reusability of a code. Inheritance, they are having two types of classes. They are base class and derived class. Let's discuss about base class. It is a class whose properties are inherited by another class. Coming to derived class, it is a class that inherit properties from the base class. And here is a syntax for inheritance. To understand the base class and derived class clearly, let's see this. And as I said already, they are having two types of classes. They are base class and derived class. In base class, we are having feature 1 and feature 2. And in derived class, we are having base class along with some other additional features. Here we are having vehicle in car. This is base class. And followed by, in vehicle, we are having base class followed by some additional features like color and price. This is called derived class. Next. Now let's move on to the topic name called polymorphism. Polymorphism is a Latin word which made up of poly means many and morphs means forms. From the Greek, polymorphism, many means poly, morph means shapes. This is something similar to a word having several different meanings depending on the context. Generally speaking, polymorphism means that a method or a function is able to cope different types. For sir, 1 second, sir. I'm having little network issue.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay,
For
continue.
example, yes, sir. For example, a simple word cut can have different meaning depending where it is used. If anybody says cut to these people, let's consider these many examples. For example, for a surgeon, if we say to cut, the surgeon would begin to make an incision for an operation. For an hairstylist, if we say to him to cut, the hairstylist would begin to cut someone's hair. Same, for example, the same word if we say for actor, the actor stop the acting. That's it, sir. My teammate Arfali will continue the further session.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Sindhu. So, let's move on. Good morning, guys. This is Arfali. Let's talk about abstraction. Abstraction is the basic feature of object-oriented programming, where user is kept unaware of the basic implementation of function property. User is only allowed to see some basic functionalities, whereas internal details are hidden from the user. Perfect example is a ATM machine. All are performing operations on the ATM machines like cash withdrawing, money transfer, retrieve, but nobody will knows the internal working of the ATM machine. Here's the block diagram representation of data abstraction, where user is get to know only the publicly available data. Private data is hidden. So let's move on to the next topic, that is encapsulation. Encapsulation is one of the fundamental concepts of object-oriented programming. The basic idea of encapsulation is it binds together the data and the function that manipulates the data and that keeps both safe from outside interference and misuse. Data encapsulation leads to the concept of slide and of data heading. The best example of encapsulation could be calculator. We understand the interference from first sight and we don't know how it works inside. We know that we can press 2 plus 2 equals and see the result on the display. Here is a syntax for encapsulation, and which denotes the public, protected and private data by initialization by using init keyword. And here is an image representing data encapsulation. So let's move on to the next topic, SQLite. It's a little bit tricky topic, but I'll try my level best to explain it. SQLite is a C library that provides a lightweight disk-based based on database that doesn't require a separate server processes and allows accessing the database using a non-standard variant of structured query language as known as SQL. Usually in SQLite, operations will need to use values from Python variables. SQLite is a self-contained file-based SQL database which comes bundled with Python and can be used in any of your Python application without having to install any additional software. So here image representation the operation of SQL database in Python database system. This is the image representing the SQLite. So let's move on to let's talk about features of SQLite. It has the following features, that is, it is serverless, self-contained, zero configuration, transitional and single database. Let's take each one by one. So let's talk about features of SQLite. So let's talk about first feature, that is serverless. So I have just said earlier that SQLite doesn't require server to run. It allows you to access the database using the SQL commands. We will learn more about commands in the upcoming slides. So here is the block diagram which represents the difference between SQL and SQL database management without server. Because in SQL you need a server processes. In SQLite you doesn't need. It will connect directly to the database. So let's talk about self-contained and zero configuration feature of SQLite. In self-contained means it does not need any external dependencies like operating system or external library. This feature of SQLite helps especially in embedded device like iPhone, Android phone, gaming phone, headphone, and handheld media players, etc. Zero configuration means it is self-explanatory, which means no setup or administration needed. Because of serverless architecture, you don't need to install SQLite before using it, and there is no server processes that need to be configured, start or stop. So let's talk about transactional and single database. SQLite is a transactional means that they are atomic, consistency, isolated and durable, which is known as ACID. All the transactional in SQLite are fully ACID complement. In other words, all the changes within the transaction takes place completely or not at all, even when an unexpected situation like app crash, power failure or operating system crash occurs. SQLite is a single database. That means it allows single database connection to access multiple database files simultaneously. This feature brings many nice features like joining tables in different databases or copying data between databases in single command. SQLite also use dynamic types for tables. It means you can store any value in any column regardless of data types. So let's move on to some commands, some SQLite commands like insert, which creates a record, update, which modifies the record, delete, which deletes the record, select, which retrieves the certain record, create, which creates a new table, alter, which modifies the existing database or table, drop deletes a table or a part of a table. Here is some two example program of creating a table and inserting a table. So we are basically creating a table named student, and it has the following columns, which is ID, name, age, address, and fees. Here in ID, int means integer, and primary key means ID is a primary key. Not null means it should not be empty. So this line of the program means ID should be when you put an ID, it should be an integer and it should be a primary key, and it should not be empty. Name should be text, and it should also be not be empty. Age, it should be integer, not empty, and means it should be empty. It should be empty.
Correct.
Addresses means it consists of the characters 50. Maximum 50 characters you can add to the address. And fees, it should be in real number. So this is the program for creating a table. And inserting a table, this is a SQLite command. Inserting table, this is insert into student. Student means any table. It could be anything, but we have created the student table, so we are taking student as an example. So ID, name, address, age, address, fees, it should be same as how we have written in the creating a table, while creating a table. So values we have added, like first one, for example, ID is first, name of the person is Sunil, and age is 28, his address is Mumbai, and his fees is 20,000 rupees. So drop table student. This will create a in the table name student, this will create these values, and you can access it by some commands. So let me move to the next one, understanding of SQLite module working in Python. First, in Python, ideally we will give a set of commands to connect. We'll give a set of commands to connect with the SQL. Connecting Python, that commands connect to Python DBI and request the data from the SQLite. It will send back the data resulting into the Python ideally. This block diagram shows the concept of working of SQLite in Python. So next, after learning so much, the question comes is, what is the use of SQLite? The answer is simple. It can be used to create a database, define tables, insert and change rows, run queries, and manage a SQLite database file. It also serves as an example for writing application that use the SQLite library. SQLite use automated regression testing prior to the each release. There are some disadvantages of SQLite, which are, it is only used where there is low to medium traffic requests, and the data page size is restricted to the only to 2 GB in most cases. This concludes my presentation. Any doubt, guys? Hello? Any doubt?
Okay, let Mahima continue. At the end, they can ask the doubts also.
And I request Mahima to continue the presentation. Yeah, over to you, Mahima.
Thank you, Arpali, and good morning to everyone. So now I'm going to introduce you to a topic called regular expressions. This is a new topic, and I chose to talk about this topic because I think it is very useful to all of you. If not all of you, at least some of you are going to use this somewhere in the future. Anyhow, it is a very useful and a very powerful concept. So let's learn about it. Now, what are regular expressions? Let's read the definition. A regular expression, also written as a regex, is a string that matches a particular search pattern. I know you didn't understand anything from this sentence. Let us understand with an example. Suppose that you have got a very large text file. It is a very large text file and it contains email addresses, and these email addresses appear here and there in between the text. What you have got? You have got a very large text file and it contains randomly appearing email addresses between the text. Now the task that you have got to do is to find out
which is that email address that appears the most. You've got a random text file with randomly appearing email addresses, and you have to find out which is that email address that appears the greatest number of times. Now, how are you going to do that? One approach is to take a pen and a paper and go through the whole text and keep account of each and every email address that you encounter. Now, manually it is not possible, it is impossible, because the text that you have got, the text file that you have got is very big. So the better and the easier option is to write a Python code for it. Now, how are you going to do that? You know how an email address looks like. It looks like something like this, abc@gmail.com. And if it's not Gmail that you are using, it looks like abc@xyz.com. Now you know this. You will tell Python to look for a string fragment that matches with this pattern. So this is where regular expressions come into picture. Now let's read the definition once again. A regular expression, also written as regex, is a string that matches a particular search pattern. I hope many can understand at least a bit. String matching, this is the word that best describes the role of a regular expression. We use regular expressions to find a string that matches a particular pattern, a particular search pattern. We may also extract some information out of that pattern. So in the previous example, the information that we were trying to extract was which is that email address that appears the most. Now that was a very simple example. The format of an email address is very simple, and further we may come up with very complicated search patterns, and maybe the extraction, the information that we are trying to extract may get much and more complex, and that's the power of regular expression, that they can handle them very easily. Now, regular expressions are a programming language unto themselves. Now, what does that mean? See, in fact, regular expressions are called a programming language within a programming language, and that's because they're very cryptic. They're very tricky to learn, and like programming languages, they have their own set of rules, like syntax, and like programming languages have keywords with special meanings. Regular expressions have special characters with special meanings. So with that, let's move on. Next. So these are some more real-time examples in front of you. Some real-time examples of usage of regular expressions. Websites that check if the email address entered by the user has a valid format or no. Suppose you are filling out a Google form, and there's a space for entering your email address, and you type something rubbish. It is going to give you an error message. Now, how is it going to know that what you have typed doesn't look like an email address? Regular expressions. And next we have a similar example. Applications where you need to enter a date in a specified format. For example, year followed by date followed by month. So in this case, if you type the date in some other format, like date followed by month followed by year, it is going to give you an error message. The same concept of regular expressions. Next. So here is a cartoon that I took from xkcd.com. Have a look at it. It's a fun cartoon, and I think it better explains the power of regular expressions. Have a look at it. Okay, so let's move on. Now, when I said that a regular expression, that these regular expressions are like a programming language unto themselves, that's because they have special characters with special meanings, like reserved words. Now, here is a list of the most frequently used regular expressions, special characters. These are the most frequently used special characters, and I ask you to read this once. Though it is not possible to understand at this point, I still ask you to read it once, because it will help you understand in a better way what I am going to teach next. Okay, so let's move on. Everything on this earth has a Python library pertaining to it, so do regular expressions. Now, if you want to use regular expressions in your code, you have to import the regular expressions library. And this is the first line of code that you have to write: import RE or import RE, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Import RE and read.search and read.find all. These are the two functions. These are the two library functions that I have showed. The read.search, it returns a boolean value. It is going to search through a line of string for a particular pattern. And if it finds a match, it is going to return a true value. If it doesn't, it returns a false value. So it is a function that returns a boolean value, and is used to see if a string matches a regular expression. Now, the read.find all, this does the same, but it doesn't return a boolean value. Instead, it returns a list of matches. It searches through a string, and wherever it finds a string fragment that matches the particular search pattern, it returns a string of all those matches. And this is used to extract portions of a string that match your regular expression. Now, here is a code, a small code in front of you. Observe the green lines here. One line is the import RE, and another one is the read.search into bracket. We are passing some arguments. Now, what this code is doing, it is searching for a search pattern. It is searching for a pattern. Now, our search pattern in this example is the one in single quotes, from followed by colon followed by space. This is our search pattern, and wherever this function RE.search finds it in the line, it is going to return a true value. Now, this is a very simple example because we don't have any special characters included in this search pattern. So we'll try to make it more complicated. We'll try to look at a more complicated looking regular expression, a very complicated looking search pattern where we'll be using special characters. So next, now look at the far right side of the slide. There's an ugly looking regular expression: caret followed by capital X dot star colon. This is our regular expression. Now let us try to understand what it means. So if you remember, if you recall from the special characters chart that I showed you earlier, you will know that the caret sign, it is going to match the starting point of a line of string. So the caret sign matches the starting point of a line of string. Here, caret capital X means that we are looking for a string that starts with a capital X, and this is followed by a dot character. The dot character is like a wildcard character. You can imagine it this way: the joker card in playing cards. Like that, the dot character is going to match any character. It is called the wildcard character because it is going to match any character. And now the asterisk. The asterisk indicates that it is appearing any number of times. Now, the dot character and the asterisk, they are together understood as any character appearing any number of times. And these are followed by a colon. The colon is just a colon, it is not a special character. Now, look at the left side of the slide. We have got 4 lines of string. Now look at the yellow highlighted part. Look at them carefully. This is our match. The lines highlighted in yellow are our matches. Look at them carefully. They all start with the capital X, followed by any number of any characters, followed by many more special characters in it and make our search pattern much more complicated. And the thing is that regular expressions can handle them very effectively, and that's their power. So that was all I could tell you about regular expressions, and that's it. Next. So these are some more interesting topics that can be dealt with using Python. So there are many more, and we have kept some of them in front of you. Next. Now these are the references to the courses that we did. We encourage you to go through the course contents of these things, and we couldn't condense all the things that we learned into this session. So we encourage you to go through the course contents of this, and these are some other good website links that will help any Python learner to learn online. So thanks for listening.
Okay. Any questions you want to ask, you can ask. If anybody is having any questions, you can ask. I'll wait for a few seconds. For any questions, you can type in the chat box also. Let the Arfali and Mahima and Sindhu will try to answer. Otherwise, I'll continue after a few seconds. Okay. First of all, I thank all these three students, Arfali, Mahima and Sindhu.
Thank you, sir.
And the way they have presented within a short time, a lot of portion they have covered, and even the time given to them was very less. And I appreciate these students because 2-3 days back they have shown all the slides to me, and I wanted to give a lot of suggestions, but I couldn't give because time was very short. If I give now, it will become a headache to the students. I didn't give. Then I asked your seniors or our best other students, your seniors, I asked them to just go through, but they gave a lot of suggestions. Suggestions were so much that these people have changed whole PPT. What I saw the PPT first time was entirely different, and you can stop sharing, Arfali. First, what I have seen slides were entirely different, if I am right. Now the slides what I have seen is entirely different, and I should congratulate these three students because they have prepared once again all the slides. And also I thank Kshama and Nikhil, one of my best students ever has seen, and because of them, their feedback, these three students could be able to do a better presentation. I thank them also. And a lot of portion other than our syllabus, they have covered SQL and expression, these three students, and I thank you, all of you. And now let me, if the time is how much, let me continue my discussion for another 10 minutes. I will try to share my slide. Give me a few seconds.
Sir, one more thing, sir. I want to say, sir, we have first prepared the slides. No, that will be also I will be sharing, sir.
Okay.
So that if anything we have covered like a more detailed pattern, sir.
Okay.
So if they
You do.
the knowledge,
Actually, you do one thing. You can share the slides. I'll try to put in the classroom. If possibly,
Yes,
you
sir.
only can put in the classroom, and
Yes, sir.
let others can access that and let them take use of that. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, give me a few seconds. Now I hope slide may be visible to you people, and just give me a few seconds. Okay, is the slide is visible to you? You can just type yes or no in the chat box so that we can continue our discussion. Thank you, Sahana. Thank you, all of you. Now let me. Is it visible? Okay. Yeah, I told just now the set x limit I have taken minus 2 to 2 and I have plotted. Observe here carefully. This is a minus 2, 0 and plus 2. What I can do, just I will change this. All program will remain same. Only ax dot set underscore x limit, instead of minus 2 to 2, I have set 0 to 2. Observe the figure. Now it is 0, it is up to 2. Now what I am doing, instead of 0 to 2, again I am changing only this statement in whole program and I have executed again. I made, instead of minus 2 to 2, 1 to 2 I have made, and this is the output what I got. So observe carefully how I can set the x limit. Take a minute and you can copy down also, or you can go through. Only one line which I am explaining now. Ax dot set x limit, how we can change this limit, and if I change this limit, how will be the output. Instead of explaining orally, I thought of showing you the output only so that you can understand it very easily. Take a few more seconds. Similarly, you can set a y limit also. You can do the x limit also. And depending upon your requirement, you can set it manually. Otherwise, by default, it will take everything and it will plot. Let me go to the next. Now, what I am doing here, observe here, the same program almost. Now, I am doing a y limit 0 to 4. Now, this is 0, this is a 4. Next time, I am changing a y limit, I am making 0, 3. So, this is 0 up to 3. Next time, I am changing it to a 0 up to 2.5. So, this is the way how I can set the y limit. Take a 1 minute, go through. Just if you want, you can copy down 1 or 2 lines from this. A whole program almost is the same. Only one statement I am changing in the program and I am executing, so that you people can understand easily what is the y limit means. This is 0 to 4, 0 to 3 and 0 to 2.5. And you can do at a time. X limit as well as y limit you can do at a time. You should execute and you should see the output. I have shown you the x limit and now I am showing you the y limit. You can do both at a time also. These things you have to execute to understand better. We may say one line, x limit means just to limit it. Sometimes we may not get a time to execute 3-4 times and take a result and show to you people. Sometimes it is difficult for us also. If you do it, it will be easy to understand for you. Let me go to the next. If you wish to invert the axis direction without changing the limit, sir, I want 0 to 4 only, I want 0 to 2 only, or 2.5 only. I want to invert the axis. It is possible. You can make use of these two functions. One is ax dot invert x axis, and you can use the ax dot invert y axis. A small program I will show you in the next slide. As of now, you just note down for invert, you have to use the ax dot invert underscore x axis. Similarly, ax dot invert underscore y axis. When we invert, how the graph, how the figure will look, that I am going to show you in the next slide with a small example. As of now, you just copy down these two words, ax dot invert and ax dot invert y axis. And in a few seconds, I will go to the next slide. I'll show you the program. See here what changes I have made in the program. When I say ax dot invert x axis, Without this and with this, I am showing you the both. Observe this. X axis I have inverted. This is a with AX invert. This is without this. I have made this as a comment and I have executed, and I got this. Now I removed that. I have made this statement and now I have executed. 2 times I have executed this program. One is with, another is without. Take a minute and try to understand how the AX dot invert underscore X axis works. Orally I can say one line. A picture tells 1,000 words. That's the reason Arfali and our 3 students, Mahima and Sindhu, has made complete changes in the slides. Instead of telling sentences, if you observe this diagram, I am sure if you see this figure, you will come to know invert means what. Similarly, when you can do the Y also, AX dot invert Y axis you can do. Another few seconds, I will go to the next slide. See, now what I have done, instead of X axis, observe here. This was now I have made comment. Now this comment I have removed. Y axis. So this is with AX invert Y axis. This is without AX dot invert Y axis. Previously we have seen a X axis. Now this is a Y axis. So whenever you want the inversion, you can use it. If you want only for X, you can do it. If you want for a Y, you can do it. And you can limit the X, limit the Y. After limiting invert, to show all those things, that itself will take hours together. Hope you people have understood, and whenever you get a time, you will try all those combinations and you will write the code and you will observe the result. So invert Y axis. So let me go to the next. Line styles, markers and colors. By default, line is a solid line and it is 1.0 weight. Hope you might have seen many times when you execute it. And color determined by the order in which it is added to the plot. And by default, first will be the same and second color will be the same by the system. But if you want different colors, you may have to explicitly mention that. So these are the different colors available. And for example, we have a blue, we have a green, we have a red. Many colors are there, black, white. You can make use of blue only, or you can make use of B only. Like that we have written many programs. Another 1 or 2 programs I am going to show you. And just note down, these are the different colors for your reference. And if you want to change the color, for example, previous we have one particular color. Now you want red only, you want black only, blue only, green only, you can mention that. Many programs are going to see later. And even hex numbers also you can pass. Lot of methods are there. This is one method is you can use like B, G, R, C, or you can use a blue, green, red. You can make use of these colors of your choice whenever you are plotting. Let me go to the next slide. That is, I'll wait for another few seconds. Just copy down blue, green, red. These lines, a few words you copy down. And beside that, you can note down B, G, C, R. Just take another 30 seconds, copy down this so that in the programs you can make changes. Wherever I use red, change it, type it as a green. Or for example, if I am using a green, make changes in that, type it as a blue and execute. So let me go to the next slide. Yeah, observe this. and this is not a part of a program, just for your reference. So this indicates whenever I am writing a line dot set underscore dashes, I'll write 2, 4, 8 some numbers. This indicates 2-point line, and this is a break, again line, again break, again line, again break. You can make use of the how you want. Instead of 2, 4, 8, you can write 2, 2, 2. That time this dotted will be length will be same. Now it is a different is there because I used 8. Break I used 4 and 4. Break is same everywhere. You can observe here carefully. But length are not same. So line is first I am using a 2-point and 4, 8, etc. So we'll see another 1 or 2 examples. Just copy down 1 or 2 lines from this so that you can execute. And these things you can change and execute so that we'll come to know how the waveform looks when I change it. I take another 30 seconds, copy down hardly 4 lines, and when you are executing, change these things and observe how it looks. Hope all of you know np.pi means what? Anyone of you can type in the chat box what's the meaning of this? Minus np.pi means? I thought everybody understood. That's why I didn't tell. Let me. Aditi Mahalay. Yes. Very good, Rishikesh. Minus 3.142. Pi value, sir. Correct, Ganesh. And Aishwarya Inamdar. Yeah. Similarly, np.pi means it's a plus. So minus 3.142 plus 3.14. That is a range what you have taken. In that, how many points you are taking? 1000. You can change this also. Observe. Make it as 100. Make it as a 5000. Observe how the waveform looks. Okay. Let me go to the next. Yeah, the same thing we have repeated. This we have changed. Okay. And what I am doing? The same sine wave only we are putting, but with a plus 0.5. Plus 0.25, error or something we are adding, so that instead of only one waveform, I'll get a 3 waveforms. That's all. No change in the program. Only this set dashes are changed. You can observe these 3. And another is instead of using the same, it will overlap. A plus 0.25, again plus 2.25 added, so that 3 waveforms I'll get. And these set dashes are changed, so that you people can observe how it represents. This is the first one, plus 0.25 plus 0.5. Instead of only sine of x, we have taken a plus 0.25 plus 0.5, a sine only with like a DC shift, what you say in your analog circuits. So like that we are doing it, but dashes we are changing so that you can observe how it looks. I'll wait for another 30 seconds. I'll take another 1 or 2 minutes. I'll wind up. See here, this is a gray color I am using, and marker face color I am using white, and marker edge color I am using a gray. Observe here. You can change these colors. I told you people to copy down the colors. No? Simply change these colors, execute this again, and observe the output waveform. Copy down this a small program, hardly 2-3 lines are there. Change the colors. Even you can change the marker edge width. Instead of 2, make it as a 1. And while limit you can change. Instead of minus 1.2 to plus 1.2, make changes in all these programs, execute and try to understand. And marker size you can change, line width you can change, color you can change. just to understand how the waveform looks, so that whenever you start writing your own program for a particular application, you will decide this is the best. And again, here P is there. You can make use of any other than P. That list is there in the next slide. I will try to show you. Yeah, just this is I removed here P, and it is a continuous waveform. And just observe here. Let me show you. No marker here. You will not find any marker, but here I have used a marker. It's a pentagon marker, hence I am getting a pentagon marker. Observe here, P is there. Here P is I removed. So this is a difference you should understand. No sir, I don't want pentagon marker, I want different. Many options are there you can use. Instead of P, I use this V. So you will get a triangular mark. Sir, I want other than this. So you can use a D. So you will get a rectangular. Like that, many options are there. Just copy down these things, and we'll try to conclude today's class. Take 1 or 2 minutes, try to understand. I have executed these many times, the same program with the small changes, so that I can show you what waveform you will get, how it looks. Colors I have not changed, I kept grey only. You people can change the color also. Only I have changed is this. Instead of P, I removed, I put a P, I put a V, D. How many such things are there? That I will show you in the next slide. But that I will show you in the next class. Time is almost over. So we will try to conclude today's class in this slide only. This P, D, V, etc. This list I will show you in the next slide.